Forecast.
Hey guys, this is the weekly forecast for March 22nd through the 26th of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the Nzdusd USD pair. This is a weekly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Alright, since this long move right here, starting from this range, was solely based on momentum, in the long term, we are short biased, right back down to this pivot low. However, due to recent price action still having momentum long, in the short term, we are long biased, right up to this pivot high. Okay, so in the short term, we are long biased right up to here. In the long term, we are short biased right down to this pivot low. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a daily chart. Now, if you recall, we were talking about this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, and how we want price to respect this level with compact price action. Now, this compact price action could be on the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart. However, it must be on this daily trend line level. Now, if we could get that compact price action, perhaps we could see that move to our short-term target right up here. Now, if you recall, I was also mentioning that there is a possibility that price may just jet straight up here without making this compact price action. Now, let me go ahead and explain that for you. Alright, we'll go down to the 4-hour chart. Alright, on this 4-hour chart, the last long trade we had was right here. And this stop loss has not been hit yet. Now, as long as this stop loss is protected and does not get hit, price is likely to go straight up to that short-term target right up here. Now, there's one other thing we were talking about last week is about this trend line from this pivot to this pivot, and how the first thing we want to see is for price to get through this level. Now, this week, price did get through that level, but ultimately just ended up right back where it started. Now, just for peace of mind, let me show you what level price respected right here. Okay, so let's go over to the monthly chart. The level that price respected is this trend line right here from this pivot to this pivot. Okay, so on the 4-hour chart, price bounced off this strong trend line right here. Now, since it is proven that this trend line does have a little authority in price, it may be wise to draw this trend line on your charts also, just to get a handle on the overall market. Okay, so let's go on to the Euro USD pair. Please subscribe if you like these videos, and please push the like button. It will really help me out, guys. Thank you. Alright, the Euro USD, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, since it was broken out 8 months ago right here, in the medium term, we are long biased, right back up to this pivot high. However, due to weakness in price, in the short term, we are short biased, right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, so in the short term, we are short biased up to here. In the long term, we are long biased at least up to here. Okay, so let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me explain the current setup we're looking at. Okay, so this short trade was very strong, and then a week-long trade formed. And so, as price pulled back right here, we were looking for shorts right back down to this pivot low as a target. Now, fundamentally, we still have the same setup. So last week, another week-long trade formed right here. And so again, we're waiting for a pullback up so we could take it right back down to this pivot low as a target. And if this explanation of this setup, how we're talking about strong trades and weak trades, is confusing to you, please check out lesson 1 of my price action trading course, and that should clear things up for you. Okay, let me dig into this setup a little bit more. We'll take you over to the 4-hour chart. Alright, on the 4-hour chart, we were talking about this trend line from this pivot to this pivot, and how we wanted price to break out of this trend line first so we could get a deeper pullback as far as we can, creating distance to our target. right here. However, this week, although we did get that breakout, price reversed direction and ended up right where it began. So essentially we are stuck in this range right here, but still the same setup still applies. And now we want price to get out of this range and pull back as much as possible. Again, so we can short it right back down to this pivot low as a target. Alright, let's go on to the USD JPY pair. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, ultimately we are targeting this pivot low at 101. But before that, we were talking about the pullback to 107 and then 109. And 2 weeks ago, that target was hit. Now at this point, we are waiting for this long momentum to slow down. Thus, in the short term, we are neutral biased. However, in the long term, we are short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, so let's talk entries. Okay, we'll stay on this monthly chart. In terms of entries, we're looking at this trend line from this pivot to this pivot, and how we want compact price action on this trend line. Now, this compact price action can be on the weekly or the daily charts. However, it must be on this monthly trend line level. Okay, let me take you over to the weekly chart. Okay, on the weekly chart, we were talking about the first thing to show some waning momentum long is that we want to see 2 red candles on the weekly chart. Now this week, that first red candle formed, showing a little bit of weakness in this long momentum. However, it will be wise due to this strong momentum long to wait for another red candle to form on the weekly chart. Okay, now let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on the 4-hour chart, we were talking about the first thing we want to see for waning momentum long is for a breakout of this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. And we did have that trend line breakout. Now in terms of price reversing direction, now we want to see the opposite hold true. So this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, we want to see this trend line starting to get respected also, to see some waning momentum on the short term. However, let me take you back to the weekly chart. Since this move up is based on a weekly time frame, we still do want to see that second red candle to show waning momentum long on the weekly chart. Okay, so either way, this setup is going to take some time to mature. Alright, so let's go on to the Aussie NZD pair. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, we had a normal double bottom right here against a weak downward trend line. So in the long term, we are long biased right up to at least this trend line level right here or this pivot high. However, in the short term, due to this price action right here, we are short biased right down to this pivot low right here. Okay, so let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Now we were talking about how price is in this range with this top resistance here and this bottom support. Now since we're short biased in the short term, at least to this pivot low as the first target, then an aggressive target right here, we're only looking for short trades on the top end of this range. Okay, so let me take you to the daily chart. So the top end of that range is generally in this area, and price finally reached this top end of this range. Now what we want to be looking for is a strong short trade to form roughly on the top area of this range. So we can target this pivot low as a first target and the aggressive target right here. Now when I refer to a strong or a weak trade, again, please refer to my price action trading course, and it should clarify what a strong or a weak trade is. Okay, so let's go on to the pound dollar. Alright, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Okay, so we had a weak double bottom right here. Now weak double bottoms typically do not go its target height. That target height being roughly in this area. So we're expecting price not to reach this level. So we are long biased in the short term, right up near these areas. But in the long term, we are short biased, right back down to this pivot low. Okay, so let's talk entries. Alright, this is a daily chart. In terms of long entries, we were looking for this trend line from this pivot to this pivot. And we want price to again respect this with compact price action. And this could be on the 4-hour or 1-hour chart. It just has to be on this daily trend line level. Moreover, if price gets through this level, there is another level on the weekly chart we're looking at. Okay, so let's go over to the weekly chart. That trend line level will be right here, from this pivot right here to this pivot. So if that daily trend line breaks out, the next level we'll be looking for that compact price action is right here. Now, moreover, there are some characteristics in price I do want to explain that happened this week. So let's go back over to the daily chart. Okay, on this daily chart, the last trade that formed down was right here. And the last long trade that formed was right here. Now, both of these trades are pretty much equal in strength with a slight bias on the downside. Okay, thus we're able to see a nice range forming. Now, the main point I wanted to present to you guys is this is that trend line we were talking about on the daily chart. Now, there's a confluence of trend lines right at this level. So it would be reasonable to say there is a possibility that that compact price action may form on this confluence of trend line levels. So we could target that first target right up here at this pivot high. Okay, I'll be updating what happens with this price action on the midweek analysis. So please check that out, guys. Okay, that's it for the weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week, guys. And thanks for watching. Bye.